Welcome back to War Thunder, to an apology video, an informative video, and a resume video, so to speak. And let's talk about the IS-6 for a minute. Okay, so I was one of the big criticizer of the IS-6, calling it borderline overpowered, broken, and showed it off in multiple videos. And in my tank review I said something about the turret front not working as you might expect it from the armor view, and Gaijin has actually acknowledged this. But first it needed a very detailed post on, well, Reddit and it was on the War Thunder forums by Anonymous Lolp. I hope I pronounced it right. If not, so be it. And he found out with special programs that the front of the IS-6 was indeed too strong with, well, internal module modifiers. That means that the advertised 150mm turret front was acting as 200mm front, and the mantle behind that, or the part of the gun shield, whatever you want to call it, was in fact 100mm instead of the barely visible 50mm, and that means the combined thickness was 300mm, and that meant that, you know, except under optimal circumstances, not even with the L7's APDS, the stock round, therefore you had a chance of penetrating. And that also meant that the Germans had no gun in the battle rating region aside from the Leopard's upgraded heat shell and also the Kanonjagdpanzer 4.5's heat shell, and now there is the two premiums, the RE251 and the M47. They had no weapon to go through the turret front. The hull is still unchanged and the cupola is still unchanged, but the turret front got adjusted with an update of today. The funny thing is, it needed a very detailed, well, forum post, and the answer was, well, it was there by Smin 1080p, and I will give you the links in the video description, of course, and I will read here out the beginning. Okay guys, some news that is from Smin 1080p. Now that this has been brought to our attention, we have raised this with headquarters and it's been checked over and it's indeed a bug. Then he goes into detail of explaining what has happened, or you know, what they claim, and the last two sentences are the following: I cannot stress how important it is for issues such as this one to be correctly reported as when they are found. I would like to, however, thank all of those that raised this correctly and pointed out with this topic that the issue should have been reported to begin with. So first of all, here comes the apology. I'm sorry that I was not the one to report this on the official forums with a perfect thread or forum thread and whatnot, and making a special dedicated video about it to be shareable without any doubt. So that was my fault. And a further fault was I didn't make this because I assumed that there are so many people on the forums and, you know, caring about this stuff, that I thought this should have found its way to the developers, and I thought they just ignored it, or it was working as intended on purpose, because I think that the entire dev team is very capable indeed, and the other explanation would have been complete incompetence. And the, well, last explanation that I have for this is the community failed. I failed together with it in bringing this to the attention of Gaijin. And then I have to say, do you really want to tell me that none of the developers, none of the mods, none of the, well, people that are in contact with Gaijin noticed that? You really want to tell me that it needed a forum post to bring this to your attention that is there like after half a year or so of the IS-6's attention? Really? Okay, Okay, so the question is now, of course, is the IS-6 ruined? Is the IS-6 now obsolete? And does it work? Is it already implemented? So, yesterday I did some testing, and the fact is it is implemented, but they have done a bit more than this. And I will show you this in the moment right now. So here I have a bit of test shooting with the long 88 through the turret front, and we can see we actually penetrated. But we have a big problem, and that is we don't one-shot him, because again a lot of the stuff get absorbed by the cannon breach, so the loader on the other side of the breach is still unharmed. Again, thanks to Napalmratte for being my target. And the second shot did not damage because I reloaded faster than he was actually replacing the crew. Cupola still looks like now it's gone, but that was a fluke. In fact, the optics on the cupola is still there, as you can see here. So no penetration, in fact it bounces off, and with the next shot we will I will tell you right through. Now also the IS-3 has been reworked, but I think here we can see the optic in full force, but I think the IS-3 is it has not really any change, and I just kill the commander and the gunner. So again, the cupola still very small, still very strange, still not a guaranteed one shot. If you hit the center, if you hit the side, much more damaging effect, and eventually you also can take down your target with enough shots. And this is now a Panther. Now the Panther is now important because we can now see how the penetration works. So the turret front is indeed 150 millimeters strong, but the remaining 50 millimeters in behind that actually absorb it. And it's just when we hit the previous weak spot, exactly the viewports, then we can penetrate even with the Panther. And again, the cannon breach absorbs all the damage and prevents the loader from getting killed. But you also can kill with a Panther 75mm gun the cupola, and furthermore it feels like the shot trap is more reliable than it used to be the last time I tried it. And well, again, here we can see how it sometimes does not work, or you aim too good and hit the turret ring, which then absorbs all the damage. But with another shot we kind of see that it works. So the IS-6 is far from being useless, and I think it's really worth pointing out. Not every shot is a one shot, but this shot was crippling and also set the engine on fire. So shot trapping does tremendous amounts of damage to Soviet tanks. Eventually you also can kill the tank. But again, it's also still very small targets. Now this is now a trial on the IS-3, and we can see that with APCR we initially do not go through, but there are cases where you might go through with the 225mm of APCR ammunition through the 250mm of ammo of armor, because it's cost homogeneous, so you have the multiplier on that. And yeah, trying to shot trap with APCR or with normal ammunition, it doesn't matter. The driver's hatch seems to be no weak spot anymore, which is a shame, you know. 30mm. It also doesn't work with a 128mm. I've tried it, I'm very disappointed about this, but I think the IS-3 deserves a also a part in this shooting range, so to speak. This is part of my tank reviews. Normally I do test shooting and I just talk about the results but rarely show them, which is a mistake, I have to say, but most of the time it should be clear. Then there is the weak spot of the IS-3, and we one-shot the tank actually, so that is nice. And again, a shot trap. Beautiful. It also works with the long 88. So here we are again on Abandoned Factory, and I think I talk here about the IS-6 and what changes. Actually, in my playstyle, nothing. So here I fired through the wall, aimed way too high. The Vickers MBT is just hammering on the Leopard, I guess. He tries to retreat. Remember, this guy has a stabilizer. I don't, but I have a faster reload than any other Soviet heavy tank equipped with a 122mm, and on the move I kill him easy. So the turret front always was leaving the enemy a chance to kill you or to shot trap you, and so I always angled the tank, rocked forwards and backwards, accelerated and braked and so forth. I always was wiggling the turret slightly, which you can do with the IS-6, and it just left the enemy no chance. Combine this with insane mobility and situational awareness, and you can circle even medium tanks like the M60. Hello! Much balance, comrade. So, and I move on, and at this moment I'm not looking to the left, but I should have, because I bounced something weird. Let's investigate that. So I've reloaded by now. It doesn't matter what it is, I can kill everything. However, in the test period today, there was some really strange shots that should have killed the enemy. Oh, I bounced a shot from an M103. Interesting. Just saying. You know, for me personally, the result is driving the IS-6, not changing much, but facing it with that knowledge of the turret front being now, you know, more or less reliably penetratable, at least on the flat part, is a huge deal for me. And that is practically everything that I wanted to show you. So the IS-6 now has a functional weak spot that is accessible for every opponent at that tier. Every tank can now penetrate the turret front of the IS-6. It's still a small target, it has not lost any of its mobility or the reload, the power of the 128 and so forth. It's still a very, very strong tank. It is not extremely overpowered anymore. But, you know, you still have to respect the IS-6. A capable driver will still, you know, most likely crush you, and so much hasn't changed. But I was really shocked that Gaijin claims to have not known this. At least that's what Swin 1080p tells us. And that's actually it for today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.